Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? This is Tool Play Negative AE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last we left off, we were in the middle of selecting different pieces. And I'm just gonna blindly select pieces because evidently I'm able to go back and do other things. So I'm hoping that that's okay. And also, if I sound quieter, or if you want me to turn the volume up, let me know, because I'm in a new room, so. I'm half asleep, so I don't even hear the phone ringing nearby. After a while, I finally realize a phone is ringing, which means there's some kind of an emergency. It's 2 a.m. Who would call me at this time of the night? Hello, this is EDA. So sorry to bother you, Dr. EDA. It's Takana-san. She never called me before for a personal reason. At the institute, she's ranked just below me, so basically she's responsible for running the institute. So for her to call me this late at night must be an emergency. Sorry, it took me a while. Is it true that we have another terminal phase patient? Yes. I was hoping to find a living specimen, so this is perfect. I initially think that maybe she abducted someone. The man is already in the research area on the underground floor of the clinic. He's struggling on the examination table and is being restrained. It looks like he is deranged, and that it looks more like he's deranged than he's resisting. I don't even understand what he's saying. He sounds angry, sorrowful, and like a child throwing a tantrum. All at the same time. It's obvious that he is not in the right state of mind. Anyway, let's put him under anesthesia. He may kill himself otherwise. I wanted to observe him a bit longer, but I guess I have no other choice. One of the other staff with a white gown gets the anesthesia ready. Even a normal person would go crazy on a restraining table in this suspicious room. But this man's behavior is not at an abnormal level. I'm sure Okanogi-san and his buddies from the Mountain Hounds are the ones who captured him. Capturing a man in this state of mind can't have been an easy task. According to her, she ran into this patient on her way home from the clinic by accident. She brought him back to the clinic and tested him, and the result came back positive. Of course, I have no intention of just believing what she's telling me, but there's no question that this man is at the terminal phase, and a live specimen is exactly what we need for the Inamizawa syndrome research. Who is this man anyway? He had something wrapped in newspapers. What do you think was in it? What is this? Something wrapped in a bloody newspaper on a tray nearby. By looking at the blood-drenched newspapers, I can only imagine there is something gruesome in it. But Takano-san looks as if she is having fun trying to surprise me. Gosh, this is awful. It's a bloody right arm. The man on the table has his right arm. So this right arm doesn't belong to him. So who does it belong to? I am used to looking at things like these as a doctor, but the horrible cross-section makes me want to look away. It wasn't done according to the medically correct method, that's for sure. It is obvious that this right arm was cut off in a cruel way. Pretty sure this man cut this arm off. So he's the suspect of the incident in the area? At this point, there's no way of knowing whom this right arm belongs to. But the next morning, we heard about the murder of the damn construction site manager, and that his right arm was missing. So we figured out whose right arm it was. That's crazy. That's crazy. This man has a criminal record and he's on probation. Yet he committed another crime. I bet he dismantled the body to hide it. I'm sure it depends on the circumstances, but he'll get more than spending a few years in prison. So you won't hesitate to dissect him like a scumbag like him, right? Who knows? Maybe he was a scumbag before and became violent due to the Hinamizawa syndrome, or maybe he was straightened out but became violent again due to the Hinamizawa syndrome. The former is one thing, but if it's the latter case, it's not his fault. That's why the Hinamizawa syndrome is scary. We can't tell if the Hinamizawa syndrome is because of the crime or if it's simply a problem of human nature. But what causes a defect of human nature in the first place? That's what I'm researching. Hate the crime, not the criminal. Is punishment the only way to correct criminals? If a person commits a crime because of a brain disorder, then if he gets a treatment, he is corrected. In other words, there are no crimes in this world, but there are patients waiting to be treated without anyone else being able to understand them. In medieval times, patients with brain disorders were said to be possessed by demons, and they were either confined or killed. Centuries after, they were finally acknowledged as patients who need treatment. Acknowledgement changes with time. Even if they are called criminals now, maybe after several centuries, those criminals will be acknowledged as patients who are entitled to appropriate treatment. To define criminals as disorders, that's my life's work. The Hinamizawa syndrome is a strange disease that can explain my theory. Solving the mystery is extremely important to me. To solve the mystery, I need a medical sacrifice. It is extremely sinful, but there's no way to solve the mystery without it. The ADA institution was authorized to take such drastic measures if necessary. That's why I asked about it so many times when I accepted the position of director. And finally, the opportunity is here. This will be the first step of the research on this strange disease. But even now I'm a little hesitant. I've opened up the human bodies and surgeries. What will I be doing on this? What I'll be doing on this man is something very similar. But there's something that's very different. What I've done before was part of a treatment. I did it to save patients. I did it so the patients could have a better future. But what I'm trying to do here isn't treatment. He will die at the end. His death will be far from humane. I will open up his brain while he's still alive. Director EDA? Are you listening? Sorry. Could you repeat it? We should turn in the dissection plan and ask for some assistance from Tokyo. He's not only alive, but also in the terminal phase, so he's an extremely important specimen. We must be very careful. That's true. You're right. Let's do as you say. I think we'll have a few days before the dissection. So I want to run some reaction tests once he's off the anesthetic. You think that's safe? Even if he's restrained, we don't know what will happen. We finally have the opportunity to test a live specimen. We can't just look into his brain. Kana-san's unusual cheerfulness makes me feel weird. But maybe her reaction is normal. Maybe I'm the one who's not reacting normally in this situation. I'm only here for the research, so I should be excited to have the opportunity to perform the first dissection. But I'm still hesitant. How can I call myself a researcher? Researchers in the past were brave enough to cross the line, and that's how they accomplished many things. I have seen many brains. I've operated on them. Lost some patients too. But I've never thought anything of it because I knew I did the right thing. Even when everything I did was denied afterwards. So if I were bothered by it, then all I needed to do is work harder. That's what medical people do. But why am I being so hesitant? Is it because it's a dissection and not a treatment? Does that mean I'm not the type to open a door to a new world? Can I only follow in the footsteps of past researchers? Hey, what's the matter, Director? Are you feeling okay? She pretends to be concerned about me, but she knows. She knows I'm still hesitating. and she's telling me that I should be ashamed for feeling that way as a researcher. I shake my head, trying to get rid of the sleepiness. Come on, I must remember why I'm here. I already have blood on my hands, but if I stop now, their lives will be wasted. They can rest in peace only when they become cornerstones of this great research. I shake my head once more and remind myself that I'm a researcher. No, I was just thinking. Takano-san, please make arrangements with Tokyo, and let me know when it's done. Okay, I understand. I'm getting excited. The least I can do is my best so his life won't be wasted. If he bleeds, I can't even waste a drop of his blood. After scolding my staff that it's not right to talk about a dissection in that way, I go back to my office. Okay, so we know where the right arm went. So the Hinamizawa disease just makes you really suspicious of everything. And like you go super crazy, right? Does the music change like as we get farther? Okay. We can just like re-click on pieces that are cracked. The death of the construction site manager, the hospitalization of Satoko is required. This one, right? Can't be connected. Wonderful. The Satoko thing, I don't think we have a queen carrier going on. An execution order is required for the third-year course declaration from Uishi. It's required. That to her death, we don't have. This maybe? Cannot be connected. Okay, at least we know. Emergency manual. Satoshi needs to be aware of his sins. These cannot be connected yet, which is fine. We should just start clicking on stuff, to be honest with you. Just like click on everything. Because I feel like we don't have any of this. Okay, cool. At least we know we can kind of rule this page out. I don't think we have a bottle of wine either. Yeah. So we need a lot of stuff for that page. Okay, lots of conflicts. Okay, so I'm guessing the stuff towards the end. Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to click on that. I'm guessing the stuff towards the end needs to wait for me to get other stuff. I'm thinking. Let's go all the way back. You know what's weird is when I click this back button. Death of Koizumi Sensei. Don't we have that? Okay, we don't have that. But Death of Koizumi Sensei, huh? We can't get this, right? Yeah. So let's, gosh, we've already done this one. Oh my goodness. Whenever I click on the back button in this game, it recenters my mouse, so it's on the first thing, so I can't spam the back button. If like, I don't want to, or if I'm on like the 7th page and I want to get to the first page, I can't spam the back button because it recenters my mouse on the next thing. Okay, so hold on. Okay, looks like we're on a clicking spree. Because I have no idea. I know. Because all of them can't be connected. Can't be connected yet. Got this one. It reminds me of that real fake doors sketch in Rick and Morty. Fake doors. There's a sketch in Rick and Morty where like there's a guy and he's like selling fake doors. It's like, this one won't open. Oh, here we go. We got one. That night, the night of the head of the Furude family, the priest gathers his wife and Rika for a family meeting. It is Hinamizawa's tradition for the three families to gather and discuss the village's issues. Not unusual for big families like the Sonozaki family and the Kimiyoshi family to have meetings beforehand to sort out options amongst themselves. However, the Furude family has lost its family branches, so there are only 3 people left in the main family. They never had a family meeting until this day. What is it? You're being so formal. Is it about the dam construction? The dam is the most important issue right now in the village. The wife assumes the priest wants to talk about the dam issue. For him to gather all the family members here must be a huge decision. Maybe he's going to talk about joining the pro-evacuation camp. No, it's not about the dam. But it's about something extremely important which concerns this village and perhaps all the ancestors of this village as well. The Furude family has served in priesthood and worshipped Oyashiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village, for generations. So for him, the head of the family, to start out this way, it must be something extremely important. Yet, he says it's not about the dam, so what does he want to talk about? I married into this family, so I want you and Rika, who carry the true blood of the Furude family, to listen very carefully. You two aren't normal human beings. I'm the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, right? Rika, you shouldn't say such things. Dear, let's talk about things like that without Rika. She has heard enough nonsense from the elderly people at the village hall already. What she just said about her being the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama appears to be true. What? Rather long story. Please, just sit tight and listen to me. Wife has a dumbfounded expression on her face, not knowing what he's going to say, but Rika is completely calm with her usual carefree expression. The priest starts to talk after the wife calms down. There is a disease in this village that has been here for a long time. It's a special disease which only exists here in this area. Everyone who lives in this village has the disease. Not only the people who live here now, but all the ancestors who ever lived here had the disease. What? But we're all fine now. I've never heard of a disease exclusive to this village. Calm down. As long as we're in the village, the disease won't cause any problems. But once you move away from this village, that's when it starts to act out. You understand? You expect me to understand such a thing? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's the same as the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Rika says this so calmly while the wife gets frustrated. That's right. They say that when you leave this village, you're cursed. It's just like that. In other words, the curse of Oyashiro-sama, which our ancestors had feared for generations, is actually a disease that only exists in our village. How could that be possible? We've left the village before. Other villagers too. But some have gone on business trips, and some have even traveled to foreign countries. True. But that's probably because the disease has weakened over a long time. So it was supposed to disappear eventually. But the business with the dam has messed up this process. As everyone knows, the whole village is heated up because of the dam. Such excitement and emotional instability made the disease worse. Still don't know what you're trying to say. But what we thought were curses all this time were actually caused by the disease? That's right. All the rules Oyashiro-sama came up with were to protect the villagers from the disease. No way. So Oyashiro-sama is not a god, but a disease? How could that be? How can I explain that to the Furude family ancestors? Calm down. The faith in Oyashiro-sama won't change. The fact that Oyashiro-sama is watching over Hinamizawa will remain the same. It's just that the disease doubles as the curse of Oyashiro-sama has existed. Which doubles as the curse of Oyashiro-sama has existed for a long time, that's all. I won't accept that. How can I explain this to our ancestors? This is a desecration of the Furude family's old tradition. No, this is a desecration of Oyashiro-sama. Who told you such a thing? This isn't acceptable. In the first place, can you prove such a disease actually exists? I have the proof. What kind of proof? Who gave you that? The people from the Ministry of Health and National Institute of Infectious Disease Prevention. They've already found the pathogen and are searching for a cure right now. I saw the documents and samples last week. The people at the Ministry of Health are called the disease the Hinamizawa syndrome. No way. As long as you lead a normal life, the Hinamizawa syndrome is harmless. But once you go far from Hinamizawa, or if you become unstable emotionally, it's easy for the disease to manifest itself. When the disease acts out, you can be possessed by your own delusions, and in the worst case scenario, you can go mad. They found this disease during the war. A great scholar noticed that only the soldiers from Hinamizawa came down with an abnormal disease, and he has been researching it all these years. They explained some details of the research, but sorry, they're too complicated for me to explain. If you don't believe what I'm saying, why don't you go listen to them yourself? I didn't believe them at first, and I thought they were just trying to desecrate Oyashiro-sama just like you. The EDA clinic was built to study the syndrome. It appears to be just a clinic on the outside, but it's actually a secret research center to study the syndrome. Research in secret? That's ridiculous. If it's actually backed by the Ministry of Health, why don't they do so out in the open? I guess they can't. For example, think about all the leprosy patients in the past who were misunderstood and rejected. They're still misunderstood and discriminated even today. If the whole country finds out about this and thinks everyone in Hinamizawa contracted this weird disease and can go mad at any moment, it'll turn into chaos. The Ministry of Health has taken that into consideration and is working on developing a cure while keeping the disease a secret. Don't get me wrong though, they aren't trying to put us on display or anything. They are trying to eliminate the disease and free this village from it. It was a different story in the past when we supported ourselves, but nowadays it's not possible. It's impossible not to leave the village. If a simple act of leaving the village can trigger the disease, you realize how dangerous that is for the villagers, right? I already said this before, but because of the anti-dam movement, the whole village is fired up, which is a very bad state for the Hinamizawa syndrome. If some villagers go crazy and do something horrible, there'll be lots of media taking pictures. That's right. If that happens, it'll be too late. But how can I believe that? Are you sure we're dealing with people from the government? Are you sure we're not being tricked? Don't blame me for not being able to believe it. They said we can come take a look at the facility anytime. I've seen it before, and I know that no mere fraud could have set up something like that. Even the big hospitals in Gogura don't have such large-scale equipment. If you can't believe what I just told you, you should go to the research center and ask questions. They can explain it better than I can. They said if their explanation isn't good enough, they can explain it to you at the National Research Institute in Tokyo, or even at the Ministry of Health's main office. Besides me believing it or not, how are we related to that? They said that the Furude family inherited the blood of Oyashiro-sama. And it is also said that if a girl was born for the 8 continuous generations, the 8th generation girl would be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Me. That's right. I'm the 7th, and Rika is the 8th generation. What does that have to do with the disease? This Hinamizawa syndrome is caused by a type of parasite. Although they're parasites, they are tiny. You can't even see them with the naked eye. They say there's a leader among the parasites. Are you saying that that's the Furude family? It appears that the leader of these parasites is passed down the generations only by people with a direct bloodline to the Furude family. In other words, during the previous generation it was you, and now it's you, Rika. Me. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Why would it be something as disgusting as parasites in the first place? Calm down. I'm not good at explaining things. Please, have the experts explain it to you. According to them, the studies into the parasite leader are necessary in order to research this disease. No, I won't have anything to do with such a suspicious research, and Rika won't either. I'm telling you to calm down. They think the Hinamizawa syndrome acts out when separated from the parasite leader, not the village itself. When you were little, do you remember villagers telling you that you had psychic powers? You were able to cure elderly people who got migraines after taking a long trip. That's proof you carried the parasite leader. Blood of the Furude has the power to cure people with the disease. To discover a cure, it's extremely important to research. They study me, the villagers. Will the villagers be saved? What they say. And all the villagers are infected? Me? Everyone else? The Toko too? Yes. No, not only the people who live in the village, but their relatives in Okinomiya too. We're talking thousands of people. That's why the Ministry of Health spent so much money to build a specialized research center. I object. How can you let Rika be a sacrifice for such suspicious research? I don't mind. If Satoko can be saved, I don't mind being a sacrifice. I really don't. You be quiet, Rika. I absolutely refuse. I'll go talk to them and refuse them directly. I won't let them kill Rika for a crazy experiment. Besides, Rika is the one and only heiress to the Furude family. What if something happens to her? The Furude family will die right here. Don't you see that? You must think more about the Furude family. That's why the villagers call you an opportunist. After all, don't you think it's odd? The Ministry of Construction is trying to submerge the village, and the Ministry of Health is trying to cure a disease? What the heck is going on? The Ministry of Health has warned that this disease could be caused by a change in environment, so they are actually trying to have the Ministry of Construction stop the damn construction plan. You should go to the research center. Why would they build a huge facility in a location that could be submerged? Rika makes a big yawn. Must be past past bedtime for a little girl like Rika. Jesus. I'm going to bed now. Dad, please let them know I'm willing to participate, okay? Rika, you can't make such a decision without consulting me. Rika. Wait, Rika. That's interesting. But both Rika's parents are dead, right? That was like a little bit ago, that cutscene. Now, do these become unshattered if I like click on them again? Okay, so if it has a blue outline, it's good. Is there like a true ending by clicking on all of them without doing it? There probably is. There's probably like some dumb. I bet you 100%. I bet you 100% that there's a true ending. We're gonna go through it all right now. We're gonna keep going. Okay, So I don't know what that does for me. Because okay. Help from the queen. Oh. To research the Inamizawa syndrome, there's something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the queen carrier, the village will collapse. Even my grandfather called it the most dangerous situation in his article. According to my grandfather, if the queen carrier dies, all the infected people will reach terminal phase within 48 hours. This may sound unbelievable at first, but research on the collapse of past local religions and group suicides around the world tells that there is some truth to it. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to the Inamizawa syndrome. Grandfather picked a few cases that were very similar to the Inamizawa syndrome and investigated them. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of communities going crazy after the death of a religious leader or founder and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that the average time is within 48 hours. It's clear that the infected people are affected by the queen carrier and that the condition of the queen carrier is in fact affecting the entire village. The statistics show that there were more patients during the week Rika was sick. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something happened to her, we'd be facing a more serious situation within 48 hours. That's why the EDA institution has to protect Furude Rika, the queen carrier. It's their biggest mission in the Inamizawa Syndrome research project. She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful not to put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life is equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers. But if something happens to her by accident, the EDA institution must prepare for that situation. That is why I worked on a draft of the emergency manual when the EDA institution was first established. It's a precaution in case the queen carrier dies or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the queen carrier. This is an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of acute symptoms. The final measure is to prevent the damage from spreading to the nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. My client, the Alphabet Project, took responsibility of working out the details of the plan. The men are used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they are such a big help. There's no way I could have come up with a plan that would execute 2,000 villagers. The Ground Self-Defense Force secured a closed quarry in the Yaguichi region upstream of Inamizawa through a dummy company. It is to be the secret storage base for the suppression operation equipment. If the deadly gas equipment that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored here, in case of an emergency, the special unit of the Ground Self-Defense Force is to use this equipment to suppress the village. However, the preparation for the execution of the villagers itself is potentially dangerous. So if I'm going to insist on getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous the Inamizawa syndrome is and how urgent the need to have a contingency plan is. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them data. So the files my grandfather kept intact came extremely handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised how catastrophic things could be in the worst case scenario. In other words, if something happens to this girl, the queen carrier, all 2,000 villagers will become deranged. Is that what you're saying? Yes. There have been several cases similar to the Inamizawa syndrome where the group suicide took place. In the case of the Inamizawa syndrome, we can easily expect extreme defensive behavior, which results from strong paranoia. The result may affect over 2,000 carriers. From there on, we may face abnormal situations like lawless violence and bizarre religious despondence. We must be ready to face such a situation by having a contingency plan, otherwise we'll draw attention from the whole world. We have to remember that we only have 48 hours to respond once it happens. You're saying that if it happens, there's nothing anyone can do? Can't you treat everyone within 48 hours? That'll be impossible. We don't even have a cure, and the research center isn't capable of taking in all the villagers. Scary it is to realize such a disease actually exists. The world is full of mysteries. As a self-defense department, we must be prepared for the worst-case scenario. That's the Alphabet Project's relief, too. Executing the plan is not desirable, but what's important is to be prepared. That's true. You're right. I still have to discuss the rules of application regarding strengthening the approval of distinctions, but now I understand that there is a need to prepare for the worst-case scenario. Let's have urban suppression warfare research teams simulate the suppression operation in the Namizawa region. I think we should get it going as soon as possible. There's a possibility that the Queen Carrier girl may be hit by a car and killed at any moment. Thank you, Major Takano. We have further questions for you, so you can sit down. Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost a day to explain to them, but it only took a short time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles. Today, in the files they are reading, there are articles of my grandfather that were insulted by big shot authorities in the past. But they don't ridicule the articles. They are reading what was once rejected. It's nothing at a big glance, but this is the moment where my grandfather's research is recognized for the first time. My heart is filled with satisfaction as I see people discussing while pointing to my grandfather's files and raising them as arguments. I've worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven. Can you see this? Alright, if we can find one more, we can knock it out. Let's do it. So does that become unbroken? Because that would be great. It does. Okay, good. So if a thing is doable, oh, that's good. So if a thing is doable, it has like a blue outline. Is that the case with like all the stuff? Or is it just the ones that I've broken that have the blue outline? So it's like really not that hard. I was very intimidated by this, but it looks like it's not going to be that tough. Given what we've been doing so far. Rude-san, thank you for waiting. We just finished the last test. She'll be back soon. I hope she's able to help. Of course. Rika-san will help the whole village. I think we will come up with a treatment soon. We're still looking into the structure, but we're finding out how important Rika-san is to the villagers. People with more serious conditions can't stabilize themselves. But we found that if they get too close to the Queen Carrier, they can create some kind of substance in their brain. That substance is calming, and it seems to have the power to bring the symptoms down. If we can prescribe this substance, it'll be a powerful treatment. See, Rika has that kind of power. You shouldn't be surprised. People say that the Shrine Maidens of the Furude Shrine has psychic power to calm souls and demons, right? Even before we find out, the history of the last few hundred years already records that. That's true. I'm impressed with the wisdom of the ancient people. The tests are all done. Rika, good work. You must be tired. Why don't you go get something to drink with this? It took a lot of my blood, so I need to replenish. Rika takes a 100 yen coin and runs out to the hallway. I appreciate Rika-san's help. If she hadn't helped us, the research wouldn't have progressed this far. Rika is very concerned about her friend who has the syndrome. She said she wants to help because of her friend. Doctor, please understand her feelings. Of course. We're taking up her precious time every Sunday, so we'll make sure to get to the bottom of this. We may have to put her through a rough experiment, but I hope you understand. We'll never harm her in any way, though. She's such an important person. She's the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, after all. I wonder how the ancient people found out about the syndrome, and how they knew the Furude family are the descendants of the queen. I'm truly impressed. By the way, there's something I have to ask you. I'd like to ask you for permission to collect her cerebrospinal fluid? Cerebrospinal. Also, there's a chance that we'll have to drill a hole in her skull to examine the inside of her head. Hole in her skull? Of course, we'll take every precaution. Rika is the one and only queen carrier. We have to make sure that she's safe, and her safety is our priority. Rika-chan is a girl, so of course we won't shave her whole head. However, we'll have to ask her to stay at the clinic a little longer so we can keep our eyes on her. She can receive visitors too. You're more than welcome to attend the examination. I'm sure she'll be more relaxed to have you nearby. You really need to perform the examination? Is it really safe? Can't guarantee her safety for either the collection of the cerebrospinal fluid or of the drilling the hole in her skull. There's always the off chance that something may go wrong. Also, Rika-san may suffer from physical and emotional discomfort. Even if it's an important examination, we can't perform it without the patient's consent. Actually, I've talked to Rika-chan about it. What'd she say? She said that it's fine. I explained to her that there's a possibility of danger and discomfort, but we still need your consent. Sometimes Rika truly believes that she's the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama, so maybe she feels obligated to sacrifice herself for the villagers? What an impressive child. Would you let me talk to my wife? She understands the situation, but I still need to explain to her. Sure, of course. Please talk it over with her. So this examination is an extremely important step towards stamping out the syndrome, right? Yes. We'll solve the mysteries of the Inamizawa syndrome for sure. At least it'll be the first step. As I already explained, if something happens to the queen carrier, the whole community of infected people may be in danger. In other words, there's a possibility the whole village may end up with deadly symptoms. That's right. According to the study, within 48 hours of the death of the queen carrier, all the infected people will become deathly ill. We must prevent that from happening no matter what. If something happens to Rika, the whole village will go insane. Yes. It's our job to prevent that. It's ironic that we have to put your daughter in a dangerous situation, but this is the only way to stamp out the syndrome. Dr. Irie, hope that you will exceed in that examination. As I said, there's no 100% medicine. Sure. Irie answers with a nod, interrupting Takana's vague answer. I will succeed. I'll save Rika-san and the villagers. I promise. Okay. I'll talk to my wife. Let you know our decision. Yes. Thank you. That's not going to go over well. After Rika and her father leave, Takana starts to laugh. What is it? What's so funny? No, nothing. I just thought it was amusing to get permission from both the patient and her parents beforehand. Rika's going through what she doesn't have to. I thought I should as a courtesy. I would have gotten consent from the guy from last year had he been in a normal condition. You're being tormented with guilt ever since you started your research here. What do you mean? This type of teasing is normal from Takano, but maybe it's gone a little too far this time. Irie stops and shows his displeasure. You can only research the Inamizawa syndrome by using living objects. You feel guilty to continue this research because you know that. Guilty feelings are necessary. Whether it's a murder or dissection, the fact that you're taking someone's life is the same. We have to accept that and at the same time devote ourselves to our research. That's an extremely impressive theory. Then, Dr. Irie, how many consents have you gotten before you cut into people's brains? He didn't think Takano knew about that. How many brains have you cut up without consent, using your selfish theory that people commit crimes due to a brain disorder as an excuse? That is, common sense changes with time. Back then, doctors didn't need to explain anything or get consent beforehand. So I don't think that you have to be concerned about the past. It'll be a problem now, but it was okay back then. So that's okay. But you feel guilty, and that's why you want to get consent from Rika-chan beforehand, and also from that guy, right? It's not true. In the first place, the treatment and dissection are... Hey, come on. You just want something so you don't have to feel guilty afterwards. Right? You just want to compensate for past guilt, that's it. If you regret what you've done, then don't do anything else with brains. Yet you're still dealing with brains despite regretting your past. If you truly feel guilty, then you shouldn't have accepted the position as director. Don't you think so? I don't need to listen to this. Excuse me. You must listen. Medicine depends on ethics and value. When Dr. Takano predicted the Hinamizawa syndrome, all the powerful people simply laughed at him. But he didn't stop researching until he collapsed. He believed that someday he'd be acknowledged. Even if it'd be right after he died, he still believed in it. He could only do this because of his strong will and his beliefs. If it wasn't for that, he would have given up on the research. Strong will is what keeps research going. Only a determined will can come to a result. But you don't have that. You aren't even sure what you've done. How can you accept the position of director with such half-hearted determination? You knew that this research can't be done without shedding blood. I don't know what to say. Maybe I am half-hearted. Then why don't you resign? There will be an obligation to keep things secret, but at least you don't have to feel guilty anymore. You may be my partner, but you're also simply a co-worker who has been requested by my client. Now that this research institute is fully developed, you aren't needed, especially if you don't have the necessary determination towards the research. You're a useless partner. I'll never quit researching. I'm not afraid of guilt or regret. My strong will is what takes me to the future. Just like Dr. Takano succeeded, I'll succeed alone. That's impressive. However, though my determination may not come close to yours, I have a will, and that's why I'm here. As you said, I already have blood on my hands. After I arrived in Namizawa, they got even bloodier. That's why I can't just run. I'll probably continue to be tormented. But I won't run. I'll get to the bottom of the Hinamizawa syndrome. That's the least I can do for all the people who gave their lives for this research. And for all those who will give their lives from now on. Idiot's face shows a look of determination. He's different from a moment ago when he was baffled by Takano bringing up all the painful past. Idiot expresses his determination with his eyes for a while, then turns around. We'll probably get consent from Rika-chan's examination, so please start the preparation. Okay, I understand, sir. You got the consent the following week. I don't know. It plays creepy music, but like, I feel like we know what Takano is at this point. So I feel like that wasn't a surprise that she was just like bringing up shit. So if we click on these and they break, they outline when we can click on them next, which is pretty cool. Like this one we can click on now, which is great. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. It's nighttime, so I'm kind of like half whispering. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Lots of visual novel roguelike content on the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. I'm probably actually going to record the next one right after I wake up, because I have a free day tomorrow. So expect the next one right after this one. Anyway, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, you guys.